This is just the beginning of a new age. A new Islamic State uprising is beginning. Maybe. In reality, what I think the most likely case is just small groups of people idealizing the Islamic State and idolizing other groups, such as ones back in the 40s. I think that these people are not a part of a bigger group, but they do have a little inner circle. Most of them are military members, veterans. Now, I don't understand how this came about, how this came to be. I don't know what exactly happened. But these people became Quran readers. I'll just refer to it that way. I won't use the M word for certain reasons, if you know what I'm referencing. But I think that these Quran readers went to mosques, became strongly extreme in their beliefs, I suppose. But maybe it was online. Maybe they became very extreme from different online groups. Who knows? But the point here is that these people, not just this guy, but a few people, that were carrying out different attacks, had some things in common. You know, being in the military service, being alleged members, as they had stated openly, alleged members of the Islamic State, as well as them all being Quran readers. People obsessed with the Quran. Maybe not quite obsessed with it, but this man certainly was very pro Quran. And I've said throughout the years that something like this would start happening again. And it doesn't take a genius to know that there are massive terrorist attacks that are going to happen soon. Either they will happen or they'll be foiled. But I mean, 9/11 happened, what, only like a measly 23 years ago, just about. And there hasn't been a major terrorist attack, since, I think, like what happened with the Boston Marathon. I would assume that's one of the biggest that's happened throughout the years. But there hasn't been a really major one in a long time. And I know that when it comes to these the certain Quran readers, and I'm not trying to like religiously stereotype, right? I'm just using that word, to reference. Okay, so don't become some super progressive far leftist butthurt loser. Okay, I'm just using this as a reference. But let's say, where was I going with this? There hasn't been a major attack in years. And when it comes to these groups, they always come back. It's like with the Germans back in the 40s. Like, they're gone, but we have different neo groups. I won't say the actual name of them, but yeah, these different neo groups that have risen up, and that's basically who these people are. They're a part of a neo Islamic State group that has risen up. But a very small one, I would assume. They're sleeper cells or small insurgencies or tiny little groups. Who knows? I don't think the FBI will leak all the information, or the CIA, or the DOD, or the White House, or even the county. I don't think they're gonna leak everything. I think they may keep some things under wraps, not to butt hurt people, because people are very sensitive progressives. They don't want to hurt any different religious groups, right? But I think that these people, this guy, would go to a mosque, and going to a mosque that he went to for several months, perhaps years, and really getting into the Quran and listening to the wrong people, the wrong Muslims, he got radicalized. And there's most Muslims are decent, okay? Most Muslims are decent people, but some of them are very extreme. And if you've read the Quran, which I haven't read it all the way through, but I've read a pretty decent amount of the Quran. And some of the things in there sound like it's promoting violence, but people they'll twist things. It's like the Holy Bible says, "Thou shalt not kill," and then people in the old days would like stone gay people or stone thieves to death. But the Bible says, "Thou shalt not kill," so it's like they're disobeying the very book that they read, they follow. And so, it's kind of how it is with the Quran. There are some Muslims that become ISIS members and they bastardize what the Quran says. Which the Quran, it does talk about killing, yes, but there are certain rules. I'm not going to get into it. It's complicated, but basically, the Islamic State bastardizes and it twists the commands, the words in the Quran. But just for those who are curious, I'm Christian. But yeah, I am curious about the Quran and about the Muslim religion. So I've studied it a bit. But these little sleeper cells or insurgent groups, whatever they may be, they're very small. Wherever this guy, whatever group he was in, I would assume it was a very small one. But I wouldn't be surprised if there were large groups that broke off from Osama after he was killed. I wouldn't be surprised if there were other sleeper cells in the country, because I know for a fact that there have been like plotted attacks and stuff that some people in ISIS spend many months, even a few of them spend years planning out. They spend years waiting for. And I wouldn't be surprised if another one occurred this year or next year, likely probably around the same time as 9/11, because that's usually when you'd think they'd strike, is right on 9/11, to sort of like celebrate their Islamic State victory. But it wasn't the Islamic State that caused 9/11. That was something different. But nonetheless, these groups have not committed a mass murder attack in a long time, and I wouldn't be surprised if a huge one occurred again. And if one did, I can imagine seeing some sort of cobalt weapon, some sort of dirty weapon, a fissile cobalt attack. So something involving advanced weapons, neurotoxins, like sarin gas or mustard gas, or Cyclone B. I mean, I don't know. Who knows? But I can imagine that with there not being another major terrorist attack within the last like 23 years, unless you count the marathon attack, Boston Marathon attack. If you don't count that one, it's been a long time since there's been a really big attack. And because I like to follow mathematical statistics, and I like to look at studies and stuff, and I like to study history. I'd assume that probably once things really start to get bad, around like Syria and Iran, especially anything to do with Israel, I would assume that that's probably when another really big attack would occur, probably on a much bigger scale than 9/11, which you don't think that would be likely in reality. But I mean, I've studied a lot of warfare, and I've studied a lot to do with weapon technology and insurgent groups and stuff. And what I've learned is that with 3D printers, with all the new technology we have today, it's much easier to create weapons of mass destruction. Way easier today than it's ever been before. anything nuclear is super super unlikely. But I know there are Russian crime syndicates and other syndicates around Russia that sell nuclear weapons. Very very rarely. They don't have many from what I've heard. But I mean, it's not likely that that's the reality. But if it's true, ISIS could get their hands on a literal nuclear weapon, or they could just make their own makeshift shitty one. Some like made in China quality nuke. Like a fissile one that wouldn't technically go off like a regular one, but that would release massive amounts of radiation, or something like like they might purchase large amounts of fentanyl or carfentanil from the cartels and use it to commit mass murder. I've studied these drugs quite a bit, and basically the cartel should be categorized as a terrorist organization by Trump, and they should be snuffed out because the fentanyl and carfentanil that the cartels produce can be used as a weapon of mass destruction to literally kill tens of millions of people. The cartels could take several planes and drop large amounts of aerosolized carfentanil over major cities and literally kill tens of millions of people. It's not even like a possibility. I would say it's likely, that something like this might occur at some point in the future. It probably won't have a very high success rate of killing a lot of people because, typically, people like these insurgent groups don't really, they usually, their plans go wrong in some ways, typically. And they don't get a very high kill count like they hope for. So, yeah, but nonetheless, I think that something might happen soon that might be on a very big scale. And so we need to secure the borders, stop the fentanyl from coming through, because that could be used as a weapon by ISIS to commit mass murder. Also, 3D printing technology could be used by the Islamic State, or other groups outside of ISIS, just other extremist Muslim groups. But I just want to give a little insight, on potential things that could occur. And so I'm stockpiling on body armor and weapons, because I'm trying to prepare. I'm a bit paranoid, you could say. I'm a bit paranoid of something happening on American soil. I wouldn't really say conservative or old-fashioned, but I'm a very cautious. I wouldn't really say paranoid, but I'm a very cautious person, and I suspect that something might come soon, whether it's a Chinese invasion or Russian, or it is in fact some extremist Muslim Quran reading insurgent group. Who knows? But I mean, it doesn't take a genius to know that different people in the country with certain interesting names like Muhammad or uh, Al Bashir, anything like that, have been like constantly being monitored since 9/11. Mosques are being monitored a little bit, but because of all the progressive talk and all this stuff about being, not insensitive, is that the word, or being too there's like a lot of people complaining about religious stereotypes and immoral treatment of religious people. But nonetheless, I think we all know that certain religious groups, certain political groups, social groups are always being monitored. But a lot of the monitoring of mosques and certain groups of Quran reading people has kind of died down, and this is actually a problem. And it's not like I want to I want there to be, oppression of Muslim people, but there are some Muslim people that take things really far, way too far, and that's how you get, a lot of people being, radicalized in the mosques and chat rooms, Muslim chat rooms online, that read the Quran. Like sometimes they take things a little too far, and then they become obsessed with mass murder, and that's where you get all these mass stabbings in the UK, and America is the perfect breeding ground for mass attacks because of, I don't know, there's just so many things to it that this just becomes so fucked up that it's likely to happen at any point soon in the future. And I wouldn't be surprised if there was something 100 times worse than 9/11. I mean, we have the opioid crisis. That's literally, as I stated in a previous video, that's like 35 times worse than 9/11. Literally, like well over 100,000 people a year dying from fentanyl. I mean, it's like 9/11's happening dozens of times every year. So I mean, if it's just like, anything that happens all at once is usually seen as worse than something that isn't as well seen. But nonetheless, the opioid crisis is far worse than 9/11 ever could have been, even if they achieved their goals. And imagine if they had, and that was just with like a few tiny little commercial planes. Imagine what they could have achieved, if they had, used, neurotoxins, or if they had used, dirty weapons or something before the country became way more secure and monitored. I mean, imagine what could have happened if they went down that route instead. And they planned many other attacks, but they decided to go with the plane attacks first, which didn't really go the way they wanted. But imagine if they succeeded. And with the new technology we have today, way worse can be done. And so, this little tiny baby attack, this like absolutely incredibly minuscule attack done by this Shamsud Jabbar guy is nothing. It's nothing at all. It pales in comparison to 9/11. 9/11 pales in comparison to the opioid crisis, and and so this guy's done like almost nothing at all. The guy's done almost nothing at all, but nonetheless, it's caused quite a bit of panic, and it's caused quite a bit of distrust, and yet more stereotyping towards Muslim people, which isn't great. But yeah, he not like he cared what his Muslim people thought. Not like. Let me rephrase that. It's not like he cared, what his Muslim brothers and sisters, will eventually have to go through because of what he's done. It's going to be a lot more dissent and distrust and hate towards Muslim people because of what this guy did. So if anything, he's making it worse for his own people. But the guy got radicalized, either in an online chat room or in a mosque or both. So yeah, I mean, but it's kind of nothing new. This stuff happens all the time in the UK, but on even bigger scales sometimes. But this is just the beginning, of what's to come, I fear. And if the surveillance of mosques and certain groups doesn't become more widespread and more severe, which it should. Better to be safe than sorry, as I always say. And if they don't go for safety and security over trying to appease softy liberal progressive people, if you don't want to protect the American people, well then who knows what's to come next. So let's hope that the surveillance and the security increases, it bumps up, and as I've spoken about in other videos, different code words and references. I'm always putting little secret messages in my videos, and so if you've listened to my videos throughout the months and even the years, then you'll know. You'll know all about that. But I put little secrets in there. Um, so that I can say more, because we all know how much YouTube likes to censor you. You can't talk about things that hurt people's feelings, even if it's true, even if it's about keeping people alive or safe or making the world a better place. People don't want to, you know, talk about it. But yeah, TikTok and YouTube, they censor anything to do with like Uyghur people or drones or C-19 or anything that's about helping people, keeping people alive, doing what's right or necessary. YouTube wants to censor. But if you listen closely, you'll maybe get some of the references and stuff that's very well hidden. So yeah, anyway, like, comment, subscribe, check out my other videos, and check out my other channels if you know where they're at. So yeah.